Hello everyone, and welcome to part 4 of the introduction to Mensteopathy. And the practice of Mensteopathy is the initial introduction that the physical and psychological or mental process of the mind are not separate but are correlated into making what you now feel as your physical body and mental state correlate in experience. And in order to understand that particular concept, imagine now if I was to say injure my bicep. The moment I injured my bicep now, you would imagine I had a thought that I was going through the moment my bicep, imagine, tore. And if the bicep tore the moment that particular thought happened, you are now creating a scar in the mind at the place where the physical injury occurred. Because from that physical injury, you will now see a degeneration in the mind based on the attachment around where the particular pattern of that train of thought originated from. And where do we see the duality in our minds originate from? From our parents, mother and father, which have created two approaches or ways of looking at a perspective, which once again relates back to your strength and your ability to see things from a higher ground, to be able to say, I have the strength to accomplish that in life. But in order to do so, you have to find a way to overcome the initial injury which has caused you to feel that particular tear, which is stemmed not in the actual physical body. The point of the injury is not stemmed in the physical point of the body at that point. The point of the injury was the stimulus of the mind that caused the energy to explode in the body at that particular point, resulting in that rupture of tissue. In the understanding of echolocation, you must now realize as well that in echolocation you will release electromagnetic pulses, which if they do not travel outward, they travel inward through your body and release at the highest peak potential at a particular point that the body attaches those particular forms or trains of thought to that particular limb. And each particular side of the body, each particular limb, each particular region and system of the body correlates back to issues or traumas stimulated between experiences from mother and father. You might say now you can't place all your negative experience back to your parents, but to what degree do you feel the place of your hatred has been in your life? And to what degree have you found a joy and beauty as well in that love? Because in understanding love, you now understand that hatred are correlated to the same thing. It is the mother and father thing of things. We have only been living in history from a perspective of a father way of things. Where now we reintroduce a mother's perspective. In order to do so, there has to be a more maternal dive into the approach, which is first introduced in the new experience mothers see. The birth of their child now resulting in them having a postpartum. Because they are no longer one with child, but they are now separate. And from the rest of their lives, they will try to keep child not separate until the child is then ready to leave the nest, essentially. But it has to pass the mother's test. And if it doesn't pass the mother's test, the mother will keep the child within the nest. to raise a child is another topic of Mensteopathy. Because you have to understand, as a parent, a child is not your friend. It is your creation, which means if you do not teach it how it grows and how it can uphold itself, then the child will grow up with negative foundations, resulting in a negative adult experience. The moment we change the way we actively raise and teach and discipline children, we then create neurological pathways, forks in the road, where they are placed with decisions. This is right, this is wrong. You repeat this, you will have this consequence. But from this, you then see intelligence arise in children, because they now realize what is acceptable, what is not acceptable. And the more you place these dilemmas in the child's path in its developmental years, you will then see that the more you stimulate discipline in a child, the more intelligent it grows up to be, and the more each value of love and hatred it will also know as a result. The deeper the love, the deeper the hatred, the deeper the hatred, the deeper the love it will have for its higher power, known as its parents, until it leaves the nest. And now you are an adult. And so, where do you begin? That is a good question. Because in my aspect of Mensteopathy, I can actively say that that is a function of life that I have yet to experience myself. As intelligent and as put together as I might be, I still have yet to pass the mother's test, apparently, which has resulted in myself being here creating my own way to generate my future. And teaching my future is not just for me, because I don't seek to create a business around this teaching. I am simply speaking this teaching in order to share it to the world, in order for you to gain the perspective that I was able to pull from. And from pulling from this particular perspective, I was then able to then create a healing, not just for myself, but for others. Because the moment you can approach this perspective, it's not just me that heals, it is you. And when you heal, I heal, and we all collectively heal together. This is the beauty of being each other's reflection as human beings. Which invites the notion of Christ into the teaching. And the moment you invite Christ into your life, you then see a new trajectory. But in that trajectory, you do have a dip in order to create, just as any flight, the momentum in order to begin soaring upwards in your trajectory. You have to create the momentum, and that is the moment you create the experience of spirituality. At first, psychosis is of a negative experience, deeply painful and negative. But through the momentum, you learn to build an understanding where you may now change the trajectory of your life and take on a higher state, a new trajectory, a pathway where you no longer take just yourself upon this trajectory, but you take everyone else along with you. Because once you gain the perspective you may heal from, then you will understand the miracles of Christ. Thank you.